I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight, wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I'd like to go to bed free at night, under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubt. And I have my doubt that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. And I have my doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubt, and I have my doubt that we'll make him back up. Yes, I have my doubt. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. The things I think while I lie awake and contemplate at night, wearing me out.
Proverbs 16. The preparations of the heart in man, and the answer of the tongue, is from the Lord. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but the Lord weigheth the spirits. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. The Lord hath made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. One that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Though hand join in hand, he shall not be unpunished. By mercy and truth iniquity is purged, and by the fear of the Lord men depart from evil. When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. Better is a little with righteousness than great revenues without right. A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps. A divine sentence is in the lips of the king. His mouth transgresseth not in judgment. A just weight and balance are the Lord's. All the weights of the bag are his work. It is an abomination to kings to commit wickedness, for the throne is established by righteousness. Righteous lips are the delight of kings, and they love him that speaketh right. The wrath of a king is as messengers of death, but a wise man will pacify it. In the light of the king's countenance is life, and his favour is as a cloud of the latter rain. How much better is it to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather to be chosen than silver? The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul. Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall. Better it is to be of an humble spirit with the lowly, than to divide the spoil with the proud. He that handleth a matter wisely shall find good, and whoso trusteth in the Lord, happy is he. The wise in heart shall be called prudent, and the sweetness of the lips increaseth learning. Understanding is a wellspring of life unto him that hath it, but the instruction of fools is folly. The heart of the wise teacheth his mouth, and addeth learning to his lips. Pleasant words are as an honeycomb, sweet to the soul, and health to the bones. There is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. He that laboureth, laboureth for himself, for his mouth craveth it of him. An ungodly man diggeth up evil, and in his lips there is as a burning fire. A froward man soweth strife, and a whisperer separateth chief friends. A violent man enticeth his neighbour, and leadeth him into the way that is not good. He shutteth his eyes to devise froward things, moving his lips he bringeth evil to pass. The hoary head is a crown of glory, if it be found in the way of righteousness. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. The lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord.
Good evening. It's October 1st, Wednesday, 2014. This is your host, Mike Callahan, and welcome to the Watchman News. You noticed we had a little video, different video today, starting out the show. That was Doubts by Berchane Duckworth. And I don't have the link at the time of this video. I'm going to put it in there. That was a last-minute decision to start the show with that. But it was a decision nonetheless. Our country has been in peril for some time now. And it would seem that here in this past week or so, it took some very large steps into I don't know how to word it, how to phrase it, but into more peril. And I'm not walking down the street carrying a cardboard sign with it written "The end is nigh" on it. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to fearmonger. I'm not trying to do any of that. We're going to go ahead and get suspicious observers out of the way, and then we'll go from there. I do want to remind everybody at the top of the show that we do have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Watchman News. There is no "the" in front of it, so just facebook.com/Watchman News. if you will, we still don't have credit card processing and stuff set up for e-juice, juice for electronic cigarettes. However, you contact me on the Facebook page, either the Watchman News page, or you can go to facebook.com/survival smokes. Both links, by the way, are down in the About tab. I do have PayPal. I can take PayPal. Anyway, yeah, it's some crazy developments today on many fronts. So let me get to suspicious observers, and then there's a couple things before we even get to what I have listed that I was going to speak about. Developments that came about. Not only since I had posted that, but also some that I just don't have listed because there's a million places to get the information. But I still want to discuss it. So anyway, let's do suspicious observers, and then we'll go from there. How's that sound?
Good morning, folks. Looking at our star in 211 angstrom shows the dark coronal holes, both north and south. I hadn't expected a positive aspect to the end of the current quake watch, but we sure have got it up there. And after 2 days of only slightly increased seismicity, we are looking at an uptick. The full readings list shows a flurry of readings in 6 magnitude range, starting in Fiji in the Pacific Ocean. We've also taken an above average tremor in China. And then again this morning, Papua New Guinea rang in 6 magnitude range fairly definitively. USGS has used lower magnitude readings for all of them. Even with the downgrade, this is still a moderate uptick. Earth took a gamma ray burst yesterday. It came out of Andromeda's portion of the skies. Solar flaring is relatively low, only one solid C flare. The departing spots remain quiet while these incoming groups are not only quiet, but their magnetic mixing is unstable and they may have some decay in mind. Meanwhile, some slightly above average speed to the solar wind, with intermittent density spikes, is continuing to push Earth's magnetosphere into instability. Other than that, it was a calm day on our star. The plasma filaments remain stable as well, including the big now turning away from our planet. Something fascinating. DGCVN is a tiny star that's made a big splash. You see, the largest solar flare ever detected from our sun was in the X-20s in 2003, and we estimate that the limb blocked much of it, and it could have been an X-45. But NASA has now watched DG fire an X-100,000 solar flare. Details in the link below. Shifting to the climate, where this is about the 200th paper from the last 3 years explaining why natural variability is the primary cause of 2 profound climate factors often attributed to anthropogenic sources. Since the IPCC admitted nearly 2 decades without any significant global warming, the publications have turned the tide, even if your news channels refuse to do so. We're looking at Europe. Flooding has been wreaking havoc from Spain and France to Austria and Czech country. The issue is the amount of rain falling in such a short period. Both there and in the U.S., we've seen the short-term downpours nearly defy the rules of weather. Doesn't appear ready to stop either. Even with the primary low-pressure system still atop Iceland, there's a line of moisture coming from way south in the eastern Atlantic up across northwest Africa and dropping onto the main continent. More of those same alerts today. Tropics Watch begins with Fanfone headed to Japan. We're pulling for the eastern shift out of Asia to keep pushing the storm off the coastline and away from the island nation. Across the sea, Rachel is about gone, but we are still expecting formation and naming of this developing low, either today or tomorrow. Meanwhile, the counterclockwise driving low in the U.S. is shifting north into south-central Canada, bringing some of the last heat waves on its eastern edge before an October chill sets in a good portion of the next few weeks. Meanwhile, though, we've got to keep an eye out for the severe storm warnings where that heat and moisture flows up the convergence. Last but not least, still got a few flood and wind warnings down under and in New Zealand. We got potential Earth spots and shots of our star to close at 6:35 a.m. Eastern Time, 5:35 a.m. Central. Eyes open. No fear. Be safe, everyone.
And a big thanks to Ben Davison with Suspicious Observers. As usual, the link is down in the About tab. And, well, at least the sun's not going to kill us at this particular moment in time that I know of. From what I understand, there was a CME this afternoon. I'm not quite sure if it was Earth-facing. I don't think it's nothing to, worry about too much. However, we will be covering some news that I would say some people should be afraid. If you're anti-gun, if you're anti-Second Amendment, I would be very scared and start jumping out windows. No, I'm kidding. Where to start? Wow. Okay. I guess we'll just do it, huh? First, we're not going to talk a lot about this. Last night, I will say there was a very peaceful, very well-behaved on both sides protest last night in Ferguson, Missouri. Very nice. Did a very nice job on both sides. I have to give credit to both sides. The protesters were absolutely peaceful, absolutely reasonable, and with all due respect, so were the police. So, good job to both sides last night. It was awesome. The police had asked the protesters to please stop with the drum. They had to get out of the middle of the street. That's a given. That's a given. The protesters listened. They asked them to quit beating on the drum due to a quote-unquote noise ordinance. However, the ACLU wants them to challenge that because they're in a residential district, and I guess the ordinances with that's different in that municipality. However, they had a discussion. At first, they were going to continue to drum anyway. I would have supported them on that either way, just my personal opinion. It's a business district. It's a residential district. It's not like, they were in the middle of a nice, real beautiful, nice, quiet neighborhood. It's a business district. However, anyway, after some discussion, they decided that, I wished I could remember the exact quote, but it was something to the effect of, "We don't want to be about that." Anyway, a great job on both sides. I'm proud of them. So just real quick, I wanted to say this is something that it just came out, 6:12 p.m. Possible grand jury misconduct in Brown case being investigated. St. Louis County Prosecutor's Office said possible grand jury misconduct is being investigated in the Michael Brown Jr. case. The investigation comes after someone tweeted out that she knows someone on the grand jury and claims that person told her that there is not enough evidence to indict Darren Wilson. A spokesman for the prosecutor's office said it was too early to determine if the information in the tweet is valid. The sad fact of the matter is, whether it be to something like this or whatever the case may be, Darren Wilson walks. It's not going to be pretty there in Ferguson. So please say your prayers, have some thoughts for the citizens of that town. Yeah. And everybody knows, everybody knows if Darren Wilson walks, it's probably going to get ugly. And we'll see. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. I'm sure there's plenty more in the future. So anyway, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this either. But play the video as soon as it comes up. Maybe. I keep saying, they're going to run like rats, and it's happening. It's going on. Here you go.
This is an ABC News special report. Now reporting, George Stephanopoulos.
Good afternoon. We're coming on the air right now because ABC News has just learned that the Secret Service Director, Julia Pearson, has resigned. Of course, that agency under fire since the September 19th, since an armed intruder actually ran into the White House on September 19th. Further revelations that President Obama was actually in an elevator with an armed man with a criminal record as well. I want to go straight to our Chief Justice Correspondent, Pierre Thomas, who's got this story.
Well, George, we just got information from the Department of Homeland Security. Secretary Jay Johnson said he received the resignation of Secret Service Director Pearson, and he accepted it. The Secret Service Director had a difficult day on Capitol Hill yesterday, which she did not give enough answers to why that man was able to jump that fence, run into the White House through an unlocked door, and then overnight revelations that the president was in an elevator with an armed man who had a criminal record. So too much for her to overcome. The meeting just took place at the Department of Homeland Security. She's out.
And John Carl at the White House. And John, I want to come to you because President Obama has recently, as the weekend was saying, he had confidence in the Secret Service Director. But after that hearing, especially yesterday, and those new revelations, her position simply became untenable.
No question about that, George. You know, I had asked the president last week in the Oval Office if he still had confidence in the Secret Service. At that point, he said the Secret Service is doing a great job. That was after the fence jumper got into the White House, but before the series of revelations that came out after that. But as recently as yesterday, the White House was expressing confidence in the Secret Service and in Director Pearson. In fact, I also asked yesterday if Director Pearson at that point had offered to resign. You know, she was called to the White House last week for an extraordinary meeting with the president. It was the first one-on-one meeting that they had had all year long. The president wanted to get the story directly from her about what happened with this latest incident. And I asked if she at that point had offered to resign. The answer was no. After yesterday's hearing, though, simply her position was untenable.
That's right. Overnight, several top Democrats, including the ranking Democrat on the House Homeland Security, Elijah Cummings, calling for a resignation, and the House Democratic leader, Nancy Pelosi. Thanks to both of you. That's all for us right now. David Muir will be back much later with World News Tonight, much more on this. And you can follow all the latest stories by starring them on ABC News mobile app. Have a good day.
So there you have it.
This has been a special.
And I know it's not like directly related. As far as I know, it could be directly related to all the other nonsense. But still, they're going to run like rats. You're going to see. I'll make the prediction. You're going to see, if we've got time for it, several people. Well, I just made a connection between Janet Napolitano's resignation speech and talking about the natural disaster, or however she termed it, that the country was going to be facing. I wonder if that could have anything to do with the Ebola. So, let's talk about that for a moment. Ebola. As you probably know already, sorry for the noise, I'm scooting around in my chair. As you probably know already, there has been a second person now that they are monitoring in Dallas, Texas, that they suspect may have Ebola. And I would imagine in the next day or so we'll know the answer to the $50 million question. There is also, it would seem, 5 children that were exposed. Now, I've heard that those children were in school for 2 days. What gets me, and again, I'm not saying everybody should start freaking out yet, or, you know, unless you're anti-gun. If you're anti-gun, freak out, start jumping out windows, jump off cliffs. No, I'm kidding. It's a joke. And I apologize. I've got a gun law story coming, and I apologize. Anyway, so there isn't enough known about it yet. And I mean, I've heard quote unquote top scientists in the field saying that it is airborne. Heard others saying it could be airborne, others saying it's not airborne. Some of them are saying it's kind of partially airborne or something like that. Something about droplets or something. Which, as far as I know, pretty well means it's airborne. There's not enough known about it. And as was pointed out by somebody else today as well, is it's only been 6 weeks. 6 weeks ago, they were talking about like 300 people had it. And now it's, I forget what the number was, like just under 3,000 or something like that, 6 weeks ago. So we know this thing is spreading. We know it's spreading fast. We just don't know enough about it. So I'm going to reiterate what I said yesterday. Be ready. Do your best to have 90 days worth of preparations, a way to filter water, of course, a way to protect yourself, plenty of light, just whatever you're going to need. Imagine locking yourself in a cave. My girlfriend would get a kick out of that one. Imagine locking yourself in a cave for 90 days and taking everything you would possibly need with you. And have the ability to fight off some bears. So if you pretty much use the locked away in a cave, bear fighting logic for 90 days, you should be pretty well covered, I would think. So, but be prepared. If this thing hits and it's a worst case scenario, be prepared to lose everything pretty much. Be prepared to lose our power grid. Be prepared for forced vaccinations. Be prepared. Be prepared. Folks, those camps, those FEMA camps, they're real. Really, really real. I'm telling you, all those coffins, the FEMA coffins, they're really, really real. All the ammunition and the weapons and everything else that's been bought by our government, DHS, the Department of Agriculture, the IRS, the Department of Education, really, really real. Need to think. Need to think. The ball games and the TV shows and all that can be put on hold for a little bit while we open up this discussion. We need to open up several discussions in this country. Several. We are a nation in distress. Can't argue that. Cannot argue that. Sorry. So, let's go ahead and get on with some other news. This is another thing that I've been talking about. I'm going to read this article here. It was published on September 18th. It's kind of old, but I ran across it, and I've had it on the quote-unquote chopping block for a little bit, but everything's been coming up. So winter 2014 predicted to be catastrophic. If you've never actively prepared for the approach of winter, you may want to start doing so this year. The National Weather Service models are predicting a 99% chance that this coming winter will start sooner and be harsher than any we have seen, possibly in this century. Now, I've been saying this. I've been saying this for quite some time. I do have some knowledge and understanding of weather systems and weather patterns. At a young age, a little boy, I was scared to death of storms. Primarily thunderstorms and the thought of tornadoes, I would flip out. And at a young age, I learned that the more that I researched something, the more I studied about something, the less I feared it. I learned that at a very young age, second or third grade, when I started researching and studying storm systems. By the time I turned 17, I was actually chasing storms and or tornadoes. So I've been watching weather for a very long time. I'm 42 now. I've been telling people the weather's going to get crazy. Anyway, weather science experts are saying the amount of snow we can expect could be many times what we normally get in most areas. The Northeast and Midwest states will probably be the hardest hit, but the expected harsh winter weather could affect the entire continental United States. This type of severe weather goes far beyond mere inconvenience. It is life-threatening. A greater amount of snow than normal could shut down major cities and cause lengthy power outages. The combination of no heat and probable food shortages is a recipe for disaster. The time to prepare for this is now, as the weather could turn as soon as the beginning of October. Wait, what day is it? What should you do? How can you protect your family from the hazards that this winter will present? Prepare for it now. Better you should start stocking up for the upcoming emergency now than to try and run out and buy what you need when the snow is knee-deep and everyone else is trying to do the same thing. Prices will be inflated, shelves may be empty, people could panic, and you could be hurt, or worse, if you're caught out in those conditions. You know, the people, oh my God, I gotta get the bread and milk. Yeah, those people. What should you start stocking up on? Some of these things I am sure you probably know, but others you may not think of. Start with the basics. Heat. If you lose power and your heat does not work without it, the first thing you will need is an alternative source of heat. And I kind of advertise Mr. Heater, little propane-powered heater. Whichever heater you decide on, make sure that it is approved for indoor use. And even then, you may want to slightly crack a window. And that is so true. Make sure it is safe. That is something for sure to be concerned with now. Prepare that now and make sure that whatever you choose, it is safe inside. Make sure to buy a lot of propane tanks so you do not run out. Never, never use outdoor barbecue grills, kerosene heaters, or any type of other heater that is for outdoor use only. You can be overcome by fumes from them. Heavy clothing. The best would be snowsuits, such as what you wear for skiing or winter hiking, but you can also use thermal underwear, wool socks, and insulated boots and parka. Don't forget the hat and gloves. You may also want to invest in some hand warmers. And let me stop for a second there. Okay, so it's usually like your head and your hands and your feet that you lose the heat out of your body. So it's very important that you have warm socks, warm gloves, and a nice cozy cap. I want to add something there. My uncle, I believe he was a supervisor for building primarily bridges, right? So middle of winter, he may be up there on whatever you call them, the I-beams and all that stuff that, you know. And anyway, he told us something one time, and I was a young boy at the time, but it stuck in my head, and I can remember laughing at him. Anyway, he told us that he wore pantyhose, and I thought that was pretty funny. But that is why he wore pantyhose, was for cold. So yes, men, buy you some pantyhose. So I would make sure you buy plenty pairs of pantyhose, not only in case you get a run in them. It's not very fashionable. I'm kidding. But you could also make like sleeves, cut the legs out and make like sleeves. I'm sure that would be of a benefit as well. But I'm not joking. I'm dead serious. Pantyhose. Make sure you got clothes that you can stay warm. Please. Get on with the next suggestion. Radio. Oh no, food. When a food shortage hits, and it will be when the delivery trucks cannot get to the stores, the first thing to go is the staples. Milk, bread, eggs, and such will be gone almost immediately. Here's a little tip. It'll be gone before then. To avoid this situation, buy good quality powdered milk and store it in a cool, dry place. I don't trust the cardboard containers they come in, so I store mine in 2-liter soda bottles with tightly screwed on caps. I don't trust soda bottles either, so. Kept moisture-free, powdered milk stays good for 2 to 10 years, so don't be afraid to buy a lot. Loaves of bread should also be on your list. Bread can be frozen with no major damage to it, and if you lose power, you can always keep it outside where it will stay frozen. Eggs can also be frozen, not in their shell. But first crack and beat them and then pour them into ice cube trays. When they are frozen, pop them out and put them in freezer bags. Canned goods, pasta, rice, beans are all things that you can stock up on that will last a long time. How much food to store will be determined on how many people in your household. Don't forget to also buy the means to cook your food. A small propane stove is best, but you can use an outdoor grill if you want to cook outside. But beware, the smell of cooking food may bring unwanted guests for dinner. Remember, operational security. Radio. A portable radio that runs on batteries is essential to keep you up on what's going on outside your home. Battery-operated or solar chargers for your cell phone, tablet, or laptop is also a good idea. Be able to communicate with others during a weather emergency is important. Very important. Light. Stocking up on candles, flashlights, batteries is a good idea. But if you have a lengthy power outage, oil lamps are a much better and cheaper choice. They give off more light and burn a very long time on very little oil. You can buy oil lamps for about $10 at Walmart along with lamp oil for about $6 and extra wicks for about $2. It may seem a bit overwhelming, but the better you prepare, the safer and happier you will feel. But remember, it is much better not to tell anyone about the preparations you have made for the coming winter, or you may find desperate people showing up on your doorstep when their food runs out and their houses have no heat. And I would kind of disagree with that. Talk to people. Talk to your friends and family and coworkers and everything else and explain to them that it's just a natural... this is natural. This is, it's not climate change. Well, it is climate change, but it's not the climate change that they're trying to tax us for. I'm not saying pollution is good and all that stuff. And let's just shove that out of the way, okay? It is climate change, but it's a natural climate change. It's still coming. It's still bad. Talk to your friends, your family, your coworkers, and let them know. Just be a little more prepared this winter. Last winter, if you recall, was a little bit nastier. I think it's going to be exponentially worse this year. So, and this is no secret. This is something that many climatologists and meteorologists and whatnot are talking about. This isn't top secret or unknown. So, just something to keep in mind. So let's get on to the gun story. I was making the anti-gun nut jokes about. California cops can now legally take your legally owned guns under new Orwellian Snitch bill. Okay, and the only justification police need to seize legally owned private property will be a family member or a law enforcement officer claiming that a person may commit gun violence. Quote unquote, the new gun violence restraining order law will give families and law enforcement a needed tool. Yeah, they're tools, but they aren't needed, to reduce the risk of mass shootings and gun violence in both the home and on our streets. Oh my goodness. Said Nick and Amanda Wilcox, legislative co-chairs of the California chapters of the Brady campaign to prevent gun violence. You're not going to prevent gun violence by doing this. All you're going to do is prevent good, decent people from being able to protect themselves if they're put in a bad position. It's craziness. That's all gun laws do. They take lives. They do not save lives. They don't. We've got to stop this way of thinking. Under the so-called gun violence restraining order in the court system, immediate family members and law enforcement agencies could ask a judge to order guns temporarily removed from certain individuals. Of course, it has wide support from all levels of law enforcement agencies. Well, of course it does. The legislation was introduced as a reactionary measure to this tragedy in which occurred, in May of this year. Elliot Rodger, a spoiled Hollywood brat and psychopath, hey, that's not my opinion, but hey, he might be, went on a shooting rampage which left 6 dead and 13 injured. Because of the actions of a single sick individual, Californians will become less free. This is, after all, the nature of the U.S. police state, to react to situations by stripping Americans of their freedoms. Sure, on the surface it sounds like a rational idea. No one wants a crazed maniac with a death wish to have guns. However, the instances of mass shootings are so rare that it's a complete crapshoot, pardon the language, of whether or not this Orwellian law will prevent anything at all. No, it won't. Sorry, it won't. California already has some of the toughest handgun restrictions in the U.S. Gun owners must pass a state and federal background check. Then they must wait 10 days after the purchase of a handgun before they can pick it up at the store. There are also several other laws on the books to prevent dangerous and unstable people from obtaining firearms. Despite these already strict laws and diagnosis with Asperger's syndrome, Rodger was still able to discreetly purchase 3 handguns and kill people. We've witnessed time and again the sick criminals who want to kill, will kill, and the laws which try to stop them only hinder the freedoms of those who never and will never commit a crime. And I want to point something out, Asperger's syndrome. Come on. Let's stop grabbing as many things as we can say and say, oh, this makes you dangerous, this makes you dangerous, this makes you dangerous. Enough. Enough. You know what makes people dangerous? Desperation. That's what makes people dangerous. Desperation. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, and there are some people that just absolutely lose it and go postal. That happens. It's a fact of life. And you're not going to stop it. And I'll bring up the case in Oklahoma to where the lady was beheaded. Wow. All the gun laws in the world wouldn't have stopped that. Are we going to ban knives next? How about fingernail clippers? Nail files? How about rubber bands, paper clips, Q-tips? Why don't we just ban hands? Make it illegal to have hands, anybody in the country. Just chop off everybody's hands right as they're born. Enough. Enough. I keep talking about, we can't stop bullying. And we can't. We can't. That's unrealistic. To think that we can stop bullying is just foolishness. But we can teach our children and adults how to deal with the bullies, how to deal with themselves when being bullied. That we can do. We can only control ourselves. We cannot control other people. So if we can't control how another person acts, we can only control how we react. That's all we can do. You want to stop the gun violence? It starts psychologically. And I don't mean with the quacks in the offices. And I mean, yeah, that's fine. But first of all, we got to get them some brains. Because, right now they're still stuck on this, stop bullying thing. Pointing the fingers at everybody else. And, I'm not saying that people don't cause other people problems. I'm the last one that could say that. I mean, if you knew my situation, you would understand that wholeheartedly. But I'm not going to go out and commit an act of violence. Why is that? I haven't seen my 6 and my 9-year-old son for like 10 months. Haven't talked to him, haven't seen him, haven't worked. I just now getting this business back off the ground and going from there. You don't see me. I don't even have one single little bitty fraction of a thought of being violent towards anybody. Not even my soon-to-be ex, whatever that thing is. Sorry. That's about the most you're going to get out of me. Maybe a few words. I have no intentions of being violent. So, what's the difference between me and the guy in Oklahoma? And I don't want to hear about he was a Muslim, because I'll pick out any number of any other people. What's the difference between them and me? It's me. It's my reaction. It's the only difference. If we want to stop gun violence, we have to start with the individuals. You know, and there's a lot of outstanding things that circle this that just aren't right. Our court systems are corrupt. Our police are corrupt. Our government's corrupt. Our businesses are corrupt. Don't tell me our businesses aren't corrupt. I worked for Walmart. I lost my job for 2 reasons. For one, I proved that something I was accused of, which was time theft, because I was accused of smoking cigarettes out in front of the store when I was supposed to be working. So I had another employee on their evening off videotape those in my crew that were going out and smoking. You know, I wasn't the one. I was inside working. Well, I mean, and I'm not saying I didn't take extra smoke breaks, but I told them flat out that if I take an extra smoke break, I go back. There used to be a smoking room. I went back into the smoke room. I told them that. I admitted that. But I still got accused of going outside in front of the store and smoking when I did not. I didn't. And I wasn't taking all the breaks I was said to have taken. So when I proved it via videotape, hard evidence, that was reason number 1. Reason number 2 is because I wanted more work. Because in the end of the mornings, I worked maintenance, floor maintenance. At the end of the mornings, we were done. And so they wanted us to go help grocery stock shelves. And I busted my butt in grocery, busted my butt to get out of grocery, because when I was hired, I wasn't hired for grocery to begin with, but I got put there anyway. Busted my butt to get out of grocery. Be damned if I'm not going to do my job and then turn around and go do their job. So I asked for more maintenance work. Other stores were waxing a section of their floor each and every night, so why weren't we? So that's what I brought up. And it made my crew mad, because I guess they didn't want to have to work. Which, hey, whatever. But I would rather do work doing what my job is, doing maintenance, than have to go and babysit the people in the grocery department because they couldn't get their job done. Or didn't want to, or whatever the case may be. Hey, you know, but that's what I'm saying. We got corruption. And when I meant in businesses, I meant in all ways. But I mean, as an employee, there's corruption. You know, you have to play office politics almost everywhere you go now. That's craziness. Whatever happened to going and doing your job and being a good worker and being recognized for that? Keeping to yourself. You know, those kind of, doing that today, you won't keep a job very long. You got to play ball. You got to play game. You got to play Mr. Popular. And I won't be a part of it. I won't. I'm sorry. I have one person or one entity to answer to, and it sure in the hell isn't a human here on earth. And I really do think about that and many, many things I do in life. So, yeah, you want to stop the shootings, Start with making better people, you know? And the more you make better people, and those people start standing up to the bullies or whatever the case may be, the less bullies we'll have. We only have bullies because it works for them. They can find people that they can control, that they can manipulate. As long as they can do that, because we've become such a soft society, it will continue. And continue and continue and continue. We have to build tougher people. Can't do that by making more laws. See what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. All right, I'll get on to the next story. Obviously, I'm probably not going to be able to cover them all tonight. I did have a video on how to successfully assert your rights. The link's down in the About tab. Go check it out. Yay. It's an okay video. I've got 9 minutes left, 8 minutes left. It's not worth showing. It's not that good. It's all right. Check it out. It's down in the About tab. Anyway, California passes first U.S. yes means yes sex consent law. Wow. Man, California, what is wrong with you? I'm starting to pray for the earthquake to come. Maybe you'll float out there by Hawaii or something. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I have to laugh, folks, with things going on in the world and in this country. It's either you laugh or you go crazy. I'll choose laugh because I've already gone crazy. I'm still there. What are my other options? California colleges welcomed Monday a new law requiring so-called affirmative consent for partners having sex on campus, dubbed a yes means yes law, in what is thought to be a first. Under the law signed late Sunday by Governor Jerry Brown, partners will have to give affirmative, conscious, and voluntary agreement to engage in sexual activity before they do so. Affirmative consent cannot be given by someone who is asleep, unconscious, or if he or she is, quote-unquote, incapacitated due to the influence of drugs, alcohol, or medication. Said the text of Bill 967 about sexual assaults on campus. Now, I always thought that was considered rape. Is it not? Seriously? I thought we already had this. Anyway, the University of California welcomed the new law sponsored by State Senator Kevin D. Leon. Sounds like somebody's just trying to keep busy here. And I'm not going again. You know, there's right and there's wrong, right? So if somebody, you know, has sexual relations with someone that's asleep, unconscious, or incapacitated, guess what? It's rape. It's already illegal. Already illegal. We worked with and supported, I'm pleased to see the affirmative consent definition is one of many factors that is assessed when sexual violence is investigated and adjudicated on our campuses, but an extremely important one, she added. Students also welcomed the new law while voicing a note of caution. USCA commends Governor Brown for signing SB 967, said Jefferson Kuik Singh, spokesman for the University of California Student Association. The signing of this bill marks a crucial step towards the direction in which universities would treat survivors of sexual violence and their other offenders. SB 967 creates the first ever affirmative consent or yes means yes standard for universities, he told AFP. But there is still work to be done. USCA will continue to advocate, educate, and raise awareness against sexual violence through its own campaigning, he added. Really? It sounds to me like people are trying to get paid money for something that's already common sense. De Leon, the bill's sponsor, said, the conversation on sexual assault on our college campus has turned an important corner today from chatter to action. Reminds me of the forward signs by Obama. Yeah, we don't know where we're going, but we're going forward. Oops, cliff. Anyway, Earlier this month, U.S. President Barack Obama vowed to fight sexual violence on college campuses, launching a campaign to banish the quiet tolerance of assault. Will you give me a break? And then we've got, what was that, Oklahoma? That the police chief says if you don't want to get, told the women if they don't want to get raped, don't get pulled over because his officers were raping the women. If you don't want, really? My goodness. He noted that 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted during her college years. Of those assaults, only 12% are reported, and of those reported assaults, only a fraction of the offenders are punished, he said. So here's the thing, right? Self-responsibility. Self-responsibility. Remember what I was talking about with the last story? Right? About working on oneself? Now, we all got to sleep. Come on, we got to sleep, okay? But we're not typically rendered unconscious unless we're hit in the head with something, or else we take some drugs or some alcohol or what. So then don't drink. Really, seriously, you can do it. I promise you. I promise you, you can do it. I'm 42 years old. I drink once in a great while. Once in a great while. And I'm here. I'm alive. I'm just fine. I don't have to go get sloshed every weekend. Right? I don't. And it's a great feeling knowing what I do. Oh my goodness. Again, see how we're passing this on? And I'm not saying other people are I'm just saying there's a certain level of self-responsibility that you can take to prevent this. Right? And largely, that's what this bill contains, what it talks about, it largely falls on self-responsibility. Don't get drunk, don't use drugs, don't, duh. And then going back to the last story, stop preventing the people from having and carrying firearms. Because I'll tell you what, a guy feels a lot less like raping a girl when he's got a 2-inch hole in his chest. It's a fact. It really is. It's not an opinion. You shoot a guy, I bet he goes limp. And I'm sorry, God forgive me, but come on. We're stopping people from protecting themselves and implementing goofy laws. And I'm not saying, the law's already there. Rape is illegal. I'm not saying that rape is goofy. I'm saying passing more laws about something that's already on the book is insane. Literally, look up the definition. These laws are not going to stop somebody that wants to sexually assault a woman. Or a woman on a man, it happens. It's not going to stop. I bet that 2-inch hole in the chest does a lot better job. The one you're preventing from being able to happen because of you're moving forward off the cliff. What can you say? I mean, I know I sound sarcastic, and I probably, forgive the word, but sound like an ass. But come on. Let's be real. Let's stop this fairy tale thinking, because I'll tell you what, I haven't seen a unicorn in a long, long time. I haven't. The last one ran away. He's under the rainbow with the pot of gold and the leprechaun. Oh my goodness, people. I know I'm sarcastic. What am I supposed to do? I'm not any more sarcastic than gun laws or this SB 967. I mean, what's next? What's next? We're gonna have to go to the courthouse and get a permit to have sex. Even married couples. You know, we've been thinking about it the last couple of months, and well, me and the woman, we want to have a special night. My goodness. I'm sorry. It's uncalled for, I know. But so is this nonsense. Oh, man. It's unreal. It really is. We've got to get back control. We really do. And I don't mean the sick control. I mean control of our own person. Because that's all we can control is ourselves. And they keep taking and taking and taking that control away. And replacing it with false hopes, false security, false promises, and false money. It's ridiculous. Fine. Boy, it's good to know I got a whole 3 stories covered that I planned on doing. I'll save the rest for tomorrow night, folks. It's after 8 o'clock. This is crazy. It really is. Think about what I had to say. Please. And have a good night. May God bless you. May He walk with you. Be one with your spirit, because that's all you can count on today. I love you all. I really, really do. You have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow.